KREM 2 News begins now.
Hello, thank you for joining us for KREM 2 News Week in Review. I'm Tim Pham. In the next half hour, we'll get you caught up on some of the biggest stories in the Inland Northwest this past week.
Neighbors in this area are still on edge following the shooting that happened over the weekend that killed Gavin Looper. Out of concern for their safety, they did not want to go on camera, but one neighbor shared with me their security video that captured the moment of the shooting.
We do not know who that person is seen running in the video, and Spokane police have not identified any suspects at this point. Police have also not confirmed if this was a drive-by shooting. SPD says police responded to reports of a shooting on Hillyard Avenue early Saturday morning. They found 13-year-old Gavin Looper with multiple gunshot wounds. He died at the hospital, and the medical examiner says the manner of death is homicide. On the night of his death, Gavin's family held a candlelight vigil at Hart Park to honor his memory. Shaylin Crooks Parkhill shared this video with us of the gathering. Gavin's mother, Renee Rogers, shared this statement with KREM 2. I would just want the community to know how truly amazing I feel to be met with such love and kindness and passion. No one wants this tragedy, but it's bittersweet to see the community really show up for us, to see how many lives my sweet boy reached. She goes on to say, I just want everyone to remember my silly, kind boy for who he was, a beautiful soul and a great kid, not for this tragedy. I also want people to know he has loving, present parents and he's a great kid. Renee started a GoFundMe to cover Gavin's funeral costs, and they've nearly reached their goal.
We also learned Gavin was a Peppersack Middle School student. We received a copy of an email the school principal sent out to the Peppersack community. They told parents that additional resources and counseling would be available on campus. The principal also encouraged parents to keep an eye and observe their student for any indication that they may need additional support. Reporting in Hillyard, Amanda Rowley, KREM 2 News.
Documents just filed in Spokane County's district court detail how Berkey quickly became the only suspect in Saturday morning's shooting. Quickly after Gavin Looper was shot and killed Saturday, questions arose as to why the 13-year-old playing video games in a bedroom ended up a victim. A newly released affidavit now shows a relationship between the Hillyard homeowners and the suspect, Glenn Dylan Berkey. Investigators say the teen was at a family friend's home with his dad when he was shot around 2:40 Saturday morning. Detectives determined the shooter fired 5 times through the back door into the room where Looper was playing games. A neighbor's security camera captured the shots. A witness living at the home identified the shooter as Dylan Berkey. She told police he was arrested in her home in 2020 for a drive-by shooting. Those charges were later dropped. She told investigators she last saw him New Year's Eve fighting with her husband. This video also captured several shots after this figure runs away. Detectives now believe someone returned fire at the suspect from the house. They pulled bullet fragments from a nearby tree. Tonight, we have also learned Berkey has been convicted 3 separate times for criminal mischief since 2019, but Washington's Department of Corrections tells us he's never served prison time. He served community supervision. Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
In this building behind me, Spokane's police chief held an impromptu press conference about how the city plans to address gun violence in Spokane following the tragic death over the weekend. Following the arrest related to the fatal shooting over the weekend and recent arrest of the suspect, Spokane Police Chief Kevin Hall shared a message that ensuring public safety is the department's top priority.
This was not only a tragic event, it was an extraordinarily outrageous event. The community should be outraged. Our children are dying at the hands of gun violence. We have to do something, and we need to do something in conjunction and partnership with our community.
He re-emphasized the department's 2025-2026 plans, which prioritize reducing gun violence in Spokane, with strategies like hotspot policing, community-based violence intervention, and creating a gun crime intelligence unit, as well as new technology and strategy.
We know and recognize that law enforcement cannot solve this or any other social problem on our own. We have to co-produce safety with the community. We have to walk hand in hand with our community.
Chief Hall encouraged the community to collaborate with Spokane Police's efforts. In Spokane, Caitlin Galloway, KREM 2 News.
Yeah, just hours ago, Berkey had his first appearance in a Missoula courtroom. Tonight, we know he should be on his way back to Spokane County to face charges, including one for the murder of Gavin Looper. The man accused of shooting 5 times through a home's back door, killing 13-year-old Gavin Looper as he played video games in a bedroom, isn't fighting extradition.
Would you like to waive extradition or remain in custody and wait for a governor's warrant?
I'd like to waive extradition.
Around 24 hours after he was booked into a Missoula, Montana jail, Glenn Berkey faced a judge there. A SWAT team arrested him near a Missoula apartment complex about 197 miles from Spokane Wednesday afternoon. Now the process of bringing him back to Washington has started.
On the new charging documents in the state of Washington, that there was a $3 million bail requested.
He faces 3 felonies out of Spokane County, including second-degree murder, for a shooting at this home on Hillyard Avenue Saturday. We also learned Berkey was under community supervision from Washington's Department of Corrections when the shooting happened.
And that you had violated a condition of community custody as of January 28th, 2025, and that you had fled from justice.
With the shooting charges and his DOC release violation, Berkey will stay in the Missoula County Jail without bond until he can be transported back to Spokane. I reached out to Spokane County Prosecutor Larry Haskell for some insight on extradition. He says transfer has to be coordinated between law enforcement in Missoula and Spokane Police, but estimates it should happen pretty quickly. Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
Welcome back. Thank you for joining us on KREM 2 Plus for your KREM 2 News Weekend Review. It's been a busy week here in the Inland Northwest. Let's get you caught up on some of the news you might have missed.
Well, after hearing from Mayor Brown at Spokane City Hall, she says this is the next resolution after the City of Spokane and Spokane Regional Emergency Communications have been at odds over emergency communication funding.
The city's political move comes after Spokane Regional Emergency Communications ended discussions with the city earlier this month, which will force Spokane's fire department out of Shrek's dispatch service by January 2026.
We're not taking your calls, but we're taking the revenue.
Right now, emergency dispatch funding is based on population, but the mayor wants this changed based on call volume. Mayor Brown explains the bill would ensure 911 excise tax revenue generated by Spokane residents would be allocated to the City of Spokane's emergency communications.
They are saying that the name is the Regional Emergency Communications System, but they're not regional if they leave 42% of the population of the county out of the system and won't take those calls. And we are simply saying that the revenue needs to follow the jurisdiction that's providing the service.
The city hopes they can finally move forward from the ongoing dispute with Shrek and put focus on public safety.
A lot of tension between Shrek board members and the City of Spokane, and I think it goes way back.
On the other side, the Shrek board in a press conference said they oppose the bill.
Further, that disproportionate allocation of tax dollars into the city at the expense of the entire community.
The Shrek board chair went on to explain Spokane County taxpayers would subsidize the city by 13%, which would result in either a raise in taxes or a cut in resources.
Now the city waits to hear if their bill is approved after its initial hearing. If it is approved, that would mean the city would get the tax revenue they want, which would put them on a pathway to build their own emergency communication system from the ground up. I'm here at Spokane City Hall. Regan Gallo, KREM 2 News.
Nothing has changed yet. That part of the process comes this spring, but the WIAA's first serious discussion of possibly banning trans girls from girls' sports almost ended before it started. Washington school districts are kicking around options on possible rule changes for middle and high school athletics. Monday, the WIAA held lengthy discussions on 2 proposed amendments. One would limit girls' sports to only athletes assigned female at birth. More than a dozen school districts signed on to the idea, including Colville.
We just feel right now the current rule that WIA has, which follows the state law, is broken.
Superintendent Kevin Knight says it's a safety issue for female and trans athletes.
Trans athletes need an opportunity to compete. Right now, we're not sure that the rule is fair for everybody.
The Second Amendment, which got about half the district's support as the first, would create 3 separate divisions, including one just for transgender competitors. Sponsor Superintendent David Vanderyacht says it all stems from last year's track championships.
My heart was broken watching a transgender female athlete win a state championship among her peers and then stand on a podium in which her peers did not accept her.
Almost immediately Monday, concerns became clear.
There was discussion on what the open division would mean and how it would be difficult for teams to qualify and enough teams to generate a state tournament.
The biggest issue causing some superintendents and athletic directors to suggest putting off the amendments for a year was legal.
It doesn't make sense to vote on something that could not be implemented if law does not allow it to be implemented.
WIAA's board says even if the amendments, if adopted, aren't legal now, state and federal laws could change. In the end, the suggestion to table the talks failed in a vote. So for now, the discussion continues.
And hash out what works for trans athletes, what works for our female athletes, and what they can do, what safe boundaries they have for everybody.
The WIAA will vote on adopting these amendments in early April. Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
This Earth camera footage shows the moment a passenger plane with 64 people on board collided with a military helicopter. Authorities say they are currently changing from rescue to recovery efforts. More than 24 bodies have been recovered as of now, and they believe there are no survivors. Of those in the crash, U.S. Figure Skating confirms several of its members were on the flight. They were heading to D.C. from the U.S. Figure Skating Championship and a development camp in Kansas. It's a championship and camp known by a skating club in Spokane.
All of us are one way or another tied in. It's a very, very small community, and we all are very upset and are mourning the loss of these important people.
Susanna Hall is the skating director with Lilac City Figure Skating Club. It's a club based out of Eagles Ice Arena in North Spokane for introductory and national level skaters. She says in the past the club's had athletes at the same competition the passengers on that flight were coming back from.
Some people that I've coached with, some people that I have taken lessons from, and then some kids, that in our sport, they all tragically lost their lives.
14 members of the skating community were killed. The Skating Club of Boston says 2 of their teenage figure skaters, their mothers, and 2 former world champions who were coaching were on the flight.
The people I knew were all, their passion for the sport was so high.
In light of the tragedy, the club is holding an event on Saturday honoring the lives of the skaters lost with skating exhibitions, games, and skating time. Hall says it's designed to show and honor the athletes' passion for the sport during this time of tragedy.
Every time you step on the ice is an opportunity to honor them.
For this fire crew from Northern Lakes Fire District, this last turn into their Hayden station on Tuesdays, unlike many others.
Definitely, I can't wait to get home and hug my son, see my wife, give her a kiss. That's my first thing.
This time, they're coming home after spending weeks down in California helping fight the fires burning around Los Angeles.
Hey, how's it going? Good to be home.
This crew of 4, only a small portion of the more than 25 North Idaho firefighters who left earlier this month to travel more than 1,000 miles to Southern California.
It's been a long while. Yeah.
Battalion Chief Brad Belmont says they spent part of that drive talking about what exactly they'd see.
Our fires up here in the north
are not the same as what's down there. The fire behavior is different, the winds are different. We burn a lot more timber and brush up here.
As firefighter paramedic Josh Grenz recalls, what they found was devastation.
When we arrived there, it was almost like the apocalyptic in a sense, when you get into the neighborhoods and see entire blocks that were devastated through fire.
The Northern Lakes Fire Crew spent the next several days working on the Palisades fire, putting out hot spots and helping people.
A couple of the guys ended up carrying a lady in a wheelchair up a couple flights of stairs so she could get into her house.
They also served as fire protection for President Donald Trump when he arrived in California last Friday.
It was very cool. Not many people get to do that.
Both Belmont and Grenz says they learned a lot on their deployment, both professionally.
There's a lot of knowledge that can be learned by going to other places and seeing how these fires are ran and how they work.
And personally.
Surprising where strangers can come together and then be lifelong friends after.
Now back at home,
that's probably your footage right there.
They'll enjoy a couple of days of much-deserved free time and rest before going back to work. In Hayden, Cody Proctor, KREM 2 News.
Well, it's exciting times, and there's hundreds and hundreds of boats here at the 2025 Spokane Boat Show. But something else we also want to focus on as well. Our friends at Multicare are here. They've got a booth set up. I'm talking with Shawnee Satterley right now. You've been giving us a lot of good information because, of course, you know, you've got the fun aspect of being out there on the waters, but there's also an important aspect too, safety. So what can you tell us in terms of what people need to know as they prepare for those summer months and being out there on the water?
There's a lot of great things that you can do. So we're focusing on drowning prevention. With that, you can learn how to swim. That's one of the big things to start with. Just learning how to swim, 1 month of formal swim lessons decreases your risk of drowning by 88%.
Wow.
Learning CPR, immediate CPR after an incident occurs. Another big thing that we're trying to get across is wearing a life jacket.
Absolutely, and it sounds simple, right? You know, but a lot of times we get out there, we're just ready to have a good time, but life jackets are key and are very important. And of course, we already talked a little bit about how my kid has gotten swim lessons only as a toddler. You've got some pretty interesting information about kids' safety out there on the water. Can you talk about that, especially with what you all see at Multicare?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, drowning is still the leading cause of accidental death in children under 4. It's a huge factor. They don't wear life jackets unless you put them on. They just don't have that ability to understand the dangers of water. So we as adults need to be their protectors and make sure they have a life jacket on.
Absolutely. So Multicare is going to be here all weekend, right?
All weekend till Sunday.
So they can find you as soon as they walk through the doors. You've got life jackets on deck, and then also a bunch of great information as well. So Shawnee, we appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for taking time and speaking with us. So if you come out here this weekend for the Spokane Boat Show, make sure you stop by Multicare as well and get some great and important information. So thank you, and we'll toss it back to you in the studio.
Thank you for joining us for KREM 2 News Weekend Review. For the most current news throughout the weekend, you can watch our latest newscast and weather forecast right here on KREM 2+. Just look for the video in the bottom navigation menu. I'm Tim Pham. Thanks for watching.